Welcome to the show. You have found Mason Street Retirement Insights, where every week we turn to our resident financial advisor, Sean Mason. He is the founder of Mason Street Wealth Management right here in Fresno. And he's been helping clients retire with confidence for years. He'd love to do the same for you. So he is here today to break down some of the biggest retirement topics for us. All right, let's dive in, Sean. I want to talk today about managing taxes. And it's because I saw an article this week I wanted to talk to you about. It had the headline, "I'm 80 and my RMD is $300,000. What the heck am I supposed to do about my huge tax bill?" Now, this is another example of what can happen if you're very successful with your 401k and your IRAs. The person that wrote this article has just over $6 million in an IRA. But Sean, isn't this why we talk about an IRA to Roth conversion? Can you talk to us about this scenario and what your thoughts are on it, what your opinion is?
Yeah, it really is. Most of us don't understand what the effect of and the consequences of RMDs, or required minimum distribution. RMDs are when the government decides that they want their money. You partnered with the government when you decided to start funding your 401k, your IRA, your pre-tax accounts. You owed taxes on those dollars, but they allowed you to put their portion into your account. So you really built that account with your partner, the government, and eventually they want their share. The only way for them to get their share is for you to start pulling money out of those accounts and pay taxes on them. So they're going to force you to do that. Some of us, it's going to be age 73. Others, it's going to be age 75. Just depends on the birthday. But you got to really plan for this. Casey, that our goal is really to control tax brackets. When it comes to tax strategy, all we're trying to do is control our tax brackets with what we have available to us. Mm-hmm. And once RMDs, or required minimum distributions, start kicking in, we all of a sudden have a loss of control. So we've got to plan that out.
So for listeners who may not know, Sean, can you explain exactly why RMDs become such a tax issue later on in retirement?
Yeah, because imagine that you've been pulling out of your account the right amount. You've been pulling out of your IRA the right amount when you're trying to supplement your Social Security. Maybe you've got some rental income. Maybe you have a pension or a small pension. You've got dividends. And in tax planning, we want to understand how much we should be pulling out of that IRA. And all of a sudden, you turn 73 or you turn 75 years old, and now you're required to take a specific amount out. Those RMDs actually cause a tax chain of events. And so all of a sudden, you're forced to take more money out of that account than you had planned on. Social Security taxes are dependent on your income. And when you pull more money than you expected out of your IRA, all of a sudden your income goes up, which means that there's a high potential that more of your Social Security is going to get taxed. Mm-hmm. You also recognize that your Medicare premiums are dependent on your income. And so when RMDs kick in, now all of a sudden your income goes up. Now all of a sudden, maybe more of your Social Security ends up on the tax return, which again increases your income. That can start to now put you into the higher tiers, and now Medicare premiums go up.
So I'm wondering how you determine when you're meeting with a client how much somebody should convert without creating a new tax problem for them. Are there certain years for somebody where Roth conversions tend to make more sense than others? Or is there a certain client where a Roth conversion makes more sense than a different client?
Yeah. So often when I'm having the tax discussion, and by the way, I'm having this discussion with tax professionals, CPAs. Not necessarily are CPAs always recognizing the big picture. I urge people to be careful about relying solely on their tax professional to determine Roth conversions, because often our tax professional is really highly focused on saving us as many dollars this year as possible in taxes. And, you know, when I ask people what's most important to you, it's how many dollars I can save in taxes over my lifetime is what's really most important. So be careful there. But it comes down to planning. You know, so many people think about the consequences of a Roth conversion. We love the idea of tax-free money down the road. We love that. But people get hyper-focused on the consequences of Roth conversions. So how much am I going to have to pay in taxes on that conversion? Obviously, if we're going to give up money early that we weren't planning on in the form of taxation because we did a Roth conversion, our account value is going to go down. People don't like the feeling of that. People don't like the feeling of getting pushed up into a higher tax bracket. So often people start utilizing what they think is common sense and actually makes sense, but not always does the math work out. I'm going to convert as much as I can up to my next tax bracket. Yeah, that's a strategy, but that might not be your best strategy. Start to focus on what the benefits are. It's very rare that I talk to anybody about Roth conversions and they've figured out what the benefits are. Isn't the whole reason why you're even thinking about a Roth conversion is to put you in the best possible position? Well, how do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Look, this thing's a puzzle, and you've got multiple pieces to the puzzle, and each piece of the puzzle is affecting other pieces. You've got to take your whole situation holistically, and you've got to do the calculations, specifically the Roth calculations, based on your whole holistic picture.
It's a great way to look at it, Sean. I want to remind you guys of our phone number, 559-847-0039. So the person that is writing this article, they're 80 years old, and obviously they waited until they're 80 to try and figure out this problem. My question is, has the train already left the station for this guy? Is there still hope? Is there still something he could do at this point? Or, in a perfect world, when would you have met with this person for the first time, Sean? What could you have done for them had they come to you sooner than 80 years old?
Yeah, that's such a great question because, again, that falls into what we were just talking about, common sense. So many people come to me and they say, I'm too old for Roth conversions. Well, I'm going to suggest you're not, and I'm going to give you a couple reasons why. First of all, until you can really understand what the benefit is, it doesn't make any sense to just come up with that. Maybe excuse or concept that we're too old because you don't really know. We are working right now with a lady. She's the neatest lady. Her name is Karen. She is 82 years old. Okay. And we typically would not be considering Roth conversions for the benefit of her lifetime.
Yeah.
But so important to recognize what happens with money from a tax perspective when you pass it on to the people that you care about. Mm-hmm. Look, if I accumulated this money, I don't care who's going to have it. I want as little to go to the government as possible, regardless of who has it and who's given it to them. And so I'm going to take that in consideration. When you pass an IRA, pre-tax money, to the kids or to the heirs, they're going to be forced to take those dollars out over a 10-year period. They can typically take that out in whatever variation through the 10 years they want. They could take it all out in the first year. Through the years, they're typically not going to take it all out in 1 year because they're going to get crushed on taxes,
right,
reaching those higher tax brackets. So they're probably going to systematically take those dollars out through the 10 years. And keep in mind, and I'm generally speaking, but if you think about how old our kids are when we pass away, they're typically in their highest earning years. Mm-hmm. High 50s, early 60s, and they're making the highest salaries they have ever made.
Yeah.
Those salaries are taking up those lower tax brackets, and then our money that they're being forced to take out of the IRA, the inherited IRA, is falling into those higher tax brackets. And we're typically seeing 45%, maybe even 50% going to the government of those dollars that we accumulated. We didn't sign up for that. Mm-hmm. When you pass a Roth, yeah, they're still forced to take those dollars out over 10 years, but they can take those dollars out in the 10th year. They don't have to worry about the tax implications. So just think about that. They inherit your dollars, and they can leave those in the Roth for another 10 years to grow tax-free. That's very powerful. At 7% interest, it's going to double, and that's doubling it tax-free. So we're working with Karen right now, and she is 83 years old. And of course, we would not be strategizing to convert for her own lifetime, but we have her heirs in mind, and we have recognized that if we use her tax brackets right now, she's on Social Security, she doesn't have any other income, we can convert that IRA money right now so that when she passes it, her heirs are going to get that money completely tax-free and allow it to, again, grow for another 10 years in that Roth. So it's never about age. Keep in mind, what is the value of a Roth? The value of a Roth is tax-free growth. What do you need for growth? You need time and you need rate of return. So be careful of thinking about common sense. Start getting to the math, start and get to the calculations, and understand that you got to take your whole holistic picture into consideration when you're doing those calculations.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we've got someone listening, Sean, they've got a large 401k or an IRA, maybe they've got both, and they think this might eventually become a problem for them. What do they need to do? What steps should they be taking?
Yeah, I'm going to highly suggest that you get with somebody who knows what they're doing. You should give us a call. Come in and have a discussion, and we're going to walk through that. We're going to walk through what the implications are of RMDs eventually getting into your financial world. We're going to walk through what the consequences of losing control of those tax brackets might be for you specifically. Give us a call and let's just walk through it. Team is standing by. We're going to walk through all these different elements, your income strategies, your tax strategies, your risks, your legacy desires, all of the lifestyle that you want to live and how your resources are going to help fund it. We're going to walk through all that stuff. So give us a call. Phone number is 559-847-0039. Our team is standing by, so give us a call right now.
That is going to do it for us this week here on Mason Street Retirement Insights. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back next week, same time, same place, with more great insight from Sean Mason, president of Mason Street Wealth Management. Take care.
Mason Street Wealth Management, MSWM, is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by MSWM on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Motivate Investments. Registration is not an endorsement by securities regulators. Investment advisory services are offered through Motivate Investments, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. The information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, offered through Sean A. Mason, California, insurance license number 0B54860. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Motivate Investments. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. MSWM is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if MSWM is licensed in your state, please call 559-892-0002.